Hey you! Yeah, you! Are you ready to kick some ass and take some names? Well, today is your lucky day. During this presentation, I'm going to be demonstrating the actions taken to overcome an actively resistant subject, and also to minimize the use of force and still gain compliance needed in order to render a suspect incapable of continuing their actions. When understanding how to overcome an active resistant suspect, it's important to understand what pressure points, body movements, and defense mechanisms to take in order to gain compliance. Now that I have your attention and you're ready to kick some butt, let's look at the lower terms and minimal uses of force to gain compliance over an actively resistant subject. The first thing to understand in this training is what PART is and what the acronym stands for. PART training stands for Physical Apprehension Restraint Techniques. The first action taught to every security forces member is the Ikkyo grip. This movement involves grabbing the subject by their hand using your thumb placed in between the thumb of the subject and their index finger, and wrapping the remaining of your hand around their wrist. From this point, you will rotate their hand 180 degrees while pushing onto the elbow. From this, place your thumb in between their thumb and index finger, wrapping your hand around theirs. Rotate the wrist 180 degrees while applying pressure to their elbow and moving them to the ground. Another action able to be taken from the arm restraint techniques is the arm bar, which begins the exact same way as the Ikkyo grip. But from this point, you will move your subject's arm fully extended upward instead of parallel to the ground. One reason to use this movement is when a subject is trying to remove your weapon. Place your hand in the same position as the Ikkyo grip, putting your thumb in between their thumb and index finger. Rotate the arm 180 degrees. Push again on the elbow, moving them to the ground. Now that you've learned a few arm rotation techniques, let's move into the more physical stuff, wherein a subject is attempting to overpower their opponent. There are two types of situations covered in this section involving a subject attempting to hold an officer in a chokehold. The first situation is when a subject has a police officer in their arms around the officer's neck in a chokehold. In this instance, the officer will use the arm closest to the subject's body, extend it fully upward. From this point, you will use your fingers and put them right under the subject's nose, exposing the body while lifting up to be able to take your strike. Use your arm closest to the subject's body, place your fingers right under the nose, pull up, expose the body, and take your strike. The next instance involves a subject holding an officer's throat with both hands attempting to choke. The first action to take is to reach one arm, can be either the right or the left, straight up in the air. From this position, you will twist and rotate your body 90 degrees to the opposite side of the arm you've chosen. Thrust your elbow into the subject's arm to break contact, giving you freedom to attempt to take a strike or create a gap between you and the subject. Choose an arm, extend it fully upward, rotate 90 degrees, break your contact, wrapping your arm around the subject's arm, and take your strike. Now that we've discussed a few types of scenarios of choking, let's move on to the last movements being taught when a subject is trying to overpower the officer. This movement will be used to overcome a subject who has an officer in a bear hug position. It can be used from either the frontal or the rear position. The subject in this scenario has the officer obtained in a position that creates difficulty in movement. The officer's first step is to create space. In order to do so, they must quickly puff out their arms and drop their body low in a fast, smooth, and persistent manner. Once this step is complete, they have created space. Now the officer is free to rotate to either side of the subject's body and perform their strike to the groin region. Now that you are aware of how to overcome a tight scenario like a bear hug, let's recap on the importance of these removers. Hard training is very important to an officer to overcome a suspect, but also can be important to you as well if you are ever faced in a scenario or challenge like some of these, for maybe a self-defense option. I hope that you've learned a few things. Take care.